It being 5:30, the agenda has duly posted and a quorum being present, I'll open the select board meeting. I ask everyone to be patient with my voice. I have had hiccups for the past 6 days. Come to find out, it is a side effect of chemo. So, and apparently my body said, hey, let's just do all the side effects just so you can say you've experienced them. So that being said, the first item is acceptance of the minutes from November 26th, November 6th, and the 13th.
So moved.
Rick,
Second.
okay. With that, I will call this. Okay, I lost people here. Call this matter to a vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And Andrew,
Aye.
myself is an aye, and the motion carries unanimously. Next, we have department liaison reports, and we'll begin with Andrew this evening.
I did attend the FRTA quarterly meeting, and we accomplished a few tasks. The free bus fare rate is remaining unchanged for the time being, and I guess they will be looking into some funding sources to sustain that, though they have also indicated that at the current pricing, it's actually more expensive for them to go back to charging a fare than to not having a fare because of the equipment needs and various other things. So they're continuing on with no fare for the buses for now. We did vote to admit the town of Tolland, way down in Hampden County, into the FRTA. And they will reach out to them for some, it sounds like fairly minor possible services involving senior on-demand ride sharing, since there's no fixed service down there, fixed route service. And that was pretty much the main items. There were a few others. Rick and I did meet with Kay Cafasso and her student group to hear their designs for the garden. It was an interesting presentation. Yeah. Kay is going to follow up with us to kind of consolidate their ideas into her own proposal for a garden design. So we'll hopefully get a chance to meet with her sometime in the next month or so, and we can put that together. I did meet with Carol DiLorenzo on Sunday and walked across the bridge and looked at what was left. They have taken pretty much all of what the bridge is wanting to keep, and they're gonna plant that stuff in people's gardens and bring it back when the bridge renovations are complete. There's quite a lot of perennials left for others to take, and so I marked a bunch of them, and with the thought that either Kay or Jim Richardson might help me figure out where to put them in the interim. However, the temperature is getting cold rapidly. It's going to be 17 tonight. The ground is starting to freeze, so I don't know if I'm going to get that stuff out of there before the ground freezes. If not, we'll return in April and see what's there, and maybe take some stuff then for future gardens at the pocket park. But that is we've been scrounging about on the bridge, and then I guess Terry may have an update on Memorial Hall Theater, there was a breakdown in the HVAC equipment this past weekend. Climates by Palmeri came out to fix today. I spoke with them a little bit, but didn't hear if there was an end result or if they got it fixed. So Terry can tell us more about that.
When I left this afternoon, I hadn't seen Sam. Whether they were still on the roof, I don't know. I wasn't going to go up on the roof to see if they were still there.
I did go
Really?
up on the roof and talk with Sam, but
I've been up there before. So I
yeah,
didn't-
yeah, and it was interesting. I mean, the equipment is very old. He said it was pretty much at the end of its life. Sadly, the company that makes parts for that HVAC unit is no longer in business. So he's scrounging parts on the internet where he can. What he reported to me when he was kind of in progress is that his preliminary diagnosis was that a hex nut had cracked around where the pilot light little cable is, and he thought it had leaked gas into that area, which caused a lot of flame to occur in the wrong part of the unit, which then gummed up the unit with a lot of black guck because of combustion happening in the wrong place. So he cleaned it. He cleaned the machine. He's looking for a replacement part for that piece. And I don't know if he got it restarted or not, so we're kind of waiting with bated breath to see whether we can finish our movie season or not, and whether we'll have heat in the hall going forward. My hope is that we can sneak it along for another year or two until we can replace the HVAC units, but we'll have more discussion about that when we know more. But that's all I've got. I think we have solar coming up, the Community Preservation Committee, and I did get, I don't know, I think all of you got a letter from Jill Connolly on Water Street about her light situation. So perhaps we can talk about that a little bit in other business.
Okay. Rick?
Nothing new on the veterans horizon since our last meeting. Town Hall, Andrew covered everything I knew about there physically. I will be requesting a meeting with Terry and the treasurer to resume updating the details for the possibility of liquidating town-owned lots, getting them back on the payroll, on the tax rolls, I should say. The police department, actually, I got some really interesting things that you really don't really have a good reason to find out, so I'll give you a couple. They had about 4,000 calls so far this year. That surprised me. Incident reports, that means those that need more documentation than just a log entry. They've had 122. There's been 56 motor vehicle crashes and 50 arrests so far this year. Facts and figures I've never heard before. I thought it was interesting, would share. They are anticipating a larger than normal crowd for, is it Midnight or Moonlight Magic?
Moonlight.
I can only remember its old name, which is now taboo. But so they've made proper adjustments to have a handful of officers available for that evening. Officer Edwin Thurston has completed the Bridge Academy, and he was the final officer of our force to complete the academy. And that means that the Shelburne Police Department is now fully compliant with the new POST standard of policing in Massachusetts, POST being Police Officer Standards and Training. So that's well in advance of it needing to be, and to their credit. And last week, Tucker Jenkins and Ted Hanna, officers, Shelburne police officers, spent the day at BSE. You may have heard something on Facebook. They gave grades 4 to 6 a presentation on anti-bullying. So they're a very involved department to all of their credit, and impressive group of fellas and women. That's everything I have.
Bob? Bob, if I may?
No, I was listening. I just thought it'd be rude to talk to my
Oh,
daughter
no,
and
no,
grandson.
I just wanted to speak if I may.
Oh, go right ahead.
Yeah. Oh, okay. No, I just, Rick, I was thinking that because we're now have made the transition to a two-town department, it would be helpful. I'm sure Chief Bardwell is already doing this, but to report those aggregate statistics by town so that you can then go back, a year or two or more and, get your own sense of, is this within the same range as we've been seeing for the previous few years on those stats, or are they starting to change for some reason? But because we're now a two-town department, we have to break them out in order to compare them to previous years.
Interesting. Yeah, I will bring that up to him for sure. Good idea.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you, Rick. The numbers increase does not surprise me. It kind of reflects the trend all over the nation.
No, I mean, my main question there, Bob, is whether those numbers represent just Shelburne or Shelburne and Buckland.
Understood, but
Yeah.
still take away 1,000 since we merged. That it's showing and reflecting the trend of more requests for services. That said, bunch of stuff going on in the highway department. They did a lot of work on the pole barn. They put the trusses up and some other things, so that are making pretty good progress. The guys are going around and getting ready for winter and plowing, by cutting whips for the side of the road to guide the plows. And they did a bunch of drainage work down on Hawks Road. Excuse me, again, that whole hiccup thing. And they are in hopes of getting a bunch of patching done tomorrow before the weather really takes a nosedive after Thanksgiving. In addition, they took care of the burial site for George, and the family was appreciative of the work they did. And the new truck is pretty much set up for plowing, but they're putting plow frames on and other things for this potential accumulating snow tomorrow. We're hearing mixed results of anywhere from 1 to 3 to 3 to 5, but it's supposed to end in rain and warm up a little bit. So they're not thinking they're going to have much of a problem with the accumulation on the road. Even though it's been cold, the road still has been absorbing a lot of heat. The senior center, I have to reach out to Julie for, just there's been a lot of things going on and haven't connected there. So I don't have anything to report for the senior center. Is there anything else people would like to?
But just
report?
to note that the Pratt group is not is meeting, I think, quarterly or something like that. So I won't have anything to report for a little while.
Okay. Nothing else? I see no appointments scheduled. So we move down to old business, the proposed solar array for the highway pole barn. We have solved the mystery on load bearing capacity of the pole barn and the roof. And the roof and such structurally is designed for what is proposed and then a little bit extra.
Yeah,
Anybody
that
else
was
have
good to
any?
hear.
Anything else to report on the solar array?
I think we relayed that back to Andrea Wood, who's the person in charge of bidding at FERCog, and so I'm hopeful that she will now be able to go ahead and put together an RFP for us. Terry and I did meet with her was it by phone or by Zoom? I can't remember now.
By Zoom.
By Zoom, yeah. And we went around a little bit about whether we wanted bid specs or an RFP. I'm a little more in the realm of doing an RFP, which I don't know. Terry, did you have any closure with her on that?
No, I did not.
Okay. And where are we with the follow-up on that? Do we need to meet again, or is she going to go ahead and start putting stuff together, or I'm not, I wasn't quite
she's
sure
away
where
right now for the Thanksgiving break.
Yeah.
And I think she's going to need specifics to be able to put an RFP together in terms of size.
Right. Yeah, we went around a little bit on that, but I think we landed on asking for a 25K system, which is the current limit for net metering, to get the best price for the electricity you produce. And that actually does, we think, will cover a good chunk, if not most, of the roof. Some of that will depend on what caliber of panels we select. If we select the high performance, more expensive panels, then we would need to cover less of the roof to get to 25 kilowatts, which would leave room for an add-on project later on if we wanted to do that. So there's several options there in terms of the kind of equipment we can spec. But Terry, maybe you and I need to meet with Andrea again after the break and try to move it forward.
Sure, or the Energy Committee, so, somebody who's got solar background would be great.
Yeah.
I think the Energy Committee would be.
Sure.
Yeah.
John has his hand up.
Yes, John.
Yeah, it's my understanding that you will still need to have an engineer stamp on the plans themselves. Just
Yes.
because somebody's reviewed it, it still needs to be stamped.
They
But it
will be
sounds like-
stamped.
Huh?
They will be stamped by
Right.
Mr. Vreeland.
Yeah, so you're great. I know him and he does a good job.
Bob, some of the other things Terry and I talked about with Andrea Wood were, and the reason that I was leaning towards the RFP instead of bid specs is that if you send out bid specs, my understanding is you're required then to accept the low bid. And we had expressed interest in not necessarily accepting the low bid, but accepting a local bid of somebody who would actually follow up with us should we need them in the future, and not somebody from Minnesota. which is the bid we got last time when we did the Solarize campaign. We actually did get a bid from Minnesota, and that was the low bid actually, but because we had RFP'd it, we could select a local contractor. And Andrea did mention that we could put a geographic circumference around our bid as one option. So there's still some questions about whether to frame it as bid specs or as an RFP. But there are other things we talked about in terms of getting the contractor to, in addition to giving us equipment and pricing on what they're actually going to put up on the roof for a 25 kilowatt system, I'm interested in getting them to actually propose an optimal design, both for the current system and what could essentially maximize our potential output on the roof going forward, which is more in the realm of giving us advice in addition to pricing. And so that's the kind of thing you can get out of an RFP that you can't necessarily get out of just putting out bid specs. So that's one of the reasons I'm interested in framing it as an RFP, or request for proposals. So that's pretty much where we left it with Andrea and Jeff. And if you want to take the ball and run with it after Thanksgiving, that would be great.
I'll certainly play in on it. Tom would probably also be interested in helping with that one too, because he knows a little bit more about that end of it. And I think we also need to think about an expansion. Like if we're going to expand, the big part will be, and John Walsh might know more about this, is just the inverter will be a really critical thing, because it would have to be a lot bigger for a bigger system. So I don't know whether we plan that in ahead or whether it's better just to have a way to expand it. But I'm sure either way, it's very doable. So that's great that you guys got the roof approved. I'm so relieved. I was part of the reason why it got into a question. So I apologize if it made some delays, but I just wanted to make sure that roof was right. So okay,
I think we're making progress. So yeah.
Sounds it. Anything else to report about the solar array at the pole barn? They haven't given us a completion date, but with as fast it's moving now, we should have equipment in there by mid-December.
Great.
You
have a hand up there for John Walsh. I don't know if he's still.
I don't think he ever took it down from.
Oh.
John?
Yeah, no, I don't know how to take them down.
You got to go back to that little thing on the bottom and click it again.
Oh, all right, sorry.
No issues. But I was aware of it and just kind of paying attention.
I don't even know where to look for that, so
Don't worry about it.
just ignore me.
In reactions, John.
Yeah, it worked.
I might be slow, but I'm not done.
All right. Anything else under old business that? Hearing none. Moving on to new business. Item A Paul Hollings, 40 Mechanic Street, and the Community Preservation Act appointment. Terry?
We have 3 seats available at the moment. Mr. Hollings, Susan Flackis, and Jennifer Hale are interested in serving. My recommendation would be to appoint Jennifer Hale to the housing seat. That was also Susan Flackis's recommendation. She has quite a history with affordable housing. And then Mr. Hollings and Susan Flackis to the member at large, and then we would have a full CPA committee.
Excellent.
I would make that motion.
I would second that motion.
There's been a motion made and seconded to appoint Paul Howlings and Jennifer Hale to the positions as Terry noted.
And Susan
Yeah.
Flackus too, I think.
Oh,
And
and Susan Flackus.
Yeah.
With that said, any further discussion on this?
No, I think they're all good citizens, and sounds like they all have some good experience and background, and I'm excited that we have a full vote in terms of the CPC committee. So I think that we've received some inquiries from the Community Preservation Coalition, which is the statewide group that provides technical assistance to the local committees, and they are ready and waiting to meet with our group when our group is ready to go. So I think we're finally ready to get going.
Excellent. So hearing no other discussion, I'll call this matter to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Andrew,
Hi.
Rick,
aye.
myself is aye, and the motion passes unanimously. There is nothing else noted under new business. Is there any other business outside of the next meeting is December 4th to come before this board, though it's not foreseen within 48 hours of this posting?
It looks like
Um,
Terry's got something.
Yeah, I've got a couple of items. First of all, the Energy Committee would like the board to consider Cynthia Bond as Cynthia Bettner's replacement as the energy advocate as part of the Mass Save grant program. I did forward her resume to each of you.
I think her name is Cindy Fand.
Her resume says Cynthia Band.
Either way, yeah.
Okay, thoughts, discussion?
I did attend the Energy Committee meeting at which they interviewed two candidates, and they were both very strong candidates. Well, Jeff, you're here, so you're a member of the Energy Committee. You can speak to it.
Sure, yeah, both were outstanding candidates, and so we were really lucky in that regard. And but after discussing it, Cindy just comes with a lot of background and having already worked on Mass Save programs in years past. So we just thought the training part of it would go really fast with her to just get her on board. And Cynthia Bettner is willing to, help her out and get her started and get her feet on the ground. But I think she'll hit the ground running. She has a lot of background in web design and just a wide ranging skills. I mean, from building construction and having done home renovations to, so it's just going to be, I think she's going to be a natural fit for the position. So we're really excited to have her, and we could have easily taken either candidate. It was a tough one.
Cindy had actually served as an energy advocate for
Correct.
another organization too, so she had some pretty direct experience.
Yeah, it was great. So we're real happy with the choice, and we hope you will be too. So.
Unusual to get such qualified candidates for a very small job there.
Any other thoughts? Is
No,
there any
I support the Energy Committee's recommendation, and
Okay.
I would move that we appoint Cindy Fan.
I think it's not an appointment, if I'm not mistaken. You're
hiring her,
actually
I'm
hiring
sorry.
her, right?
Yeah, we're hiring her. I apologize there.
Yes.
I misstated that.
I second the hiring of the candidate selected.
All right, very good. Is there any other discussion? So the motion is that we hire Cynthia Band,
Band, yeah.
for the Energy Committee's position that was vacated by Cynthia Botner for or other, energy fields of tasks that she's looking forward to explore.
And just to complete the motion, that is a 1-year position. That's what we have funding for, going from about December to December.
Okay, good, so noted. That said, we'll bring this matter to vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Rick,
Aye.
Andrew,
Aye.
myself as an aye. Motion passes unanimously. Terry, what's next at the plate?
The next item is just a reminder to residents that the transfer station will resume winter hours on Tuesday, December 5th. The transfer station will close at 4 p.m. instead of 7 p.m. And that will be posted at the transfer station. And I believe Mark plans on using the messaging board as well.
I'm sorry, Terry, I missed something. Why are we closing early on December 5th?
We're starting our winter hours at the transfer station. Joe Fink typically holds
Oh,
that seat from
okay,
4
so it's
to
just
7.
Seasonal change of hours.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Given the need for this time of year to have people come in early for plowing and sanding and such, it would not necessarily line up all the time. So he's going to go back to the normal duties of a highway employee.
And Terry, you may have already done this, but that seems like something that could be useful to put into the newsletter. Yeah.
Already done.
Fantastic.
It's been in the Arms Library newsletter too for the last couple of months.
Great.
I believe the next thing it's going to be used for, either starting tomorrow or Wednesday, is notifying the public of Moonlight Magic and the bridge being closed from 3 to 9, 3 to 9:30, somewhere in there, for the festivities to take place on Bridge Street. So the message board has been extremely useful, and we actually could use another one, given everything that we're discovering that it's been used for. So that's been very, very, very good. That's not a vote or anything, Terry. That's just a notification, right?
Just a note, yep.
All right. Anything else?
The last item, Andrew had mentioned the streetlights in front of Jill Connolly's house and Ms. McCormick's house. I did speak to Eversource today, and they will be sending out a crew this evening unless something changes. Oh, Ms. McCormick has something to say.
Go ahead.
Hi, they've been changed as of this evening, both of them. I watched mine get changed and then watched them go down to Jill's, and she just text messaged me. Hers are done. Hers is done too.
And when you say changed, what does that mean?
It's they put in the old bulbs, the old style bulb.
The sodium vapor bulbs?
I
Yes,
guess
As a temporary measure.
I see. Okay.
and they removed the shielding to
And when you
accommodate.
say, excuse me, when you say temporary measure, Terry, what do you mean?
Well, the town is in the process of working with a consultant to study the possibility of purchasing and managing LED streetlights that are at a lesser wattage, that have shields. Also, Eversource may be starting a test pilot program with a new type of dome shield. But I'm waiting to hear more on that. They don't have any samples in, and they're supposed to be sending us some literature.
I think also the last time we met with Eversource face to face, they told us that going forward, any lights that need replacing would get replaced by LEDs. So this is actually a kind of exception to that mandate that they gave us.
Very much so.
Yeah.
They're treating us right.
Well,
They have,
Are
yes.
you happy, Miss McCormick?
I'll tell you tomorrow morning if I sleep through the night.
Okay. Just for the record, the lights that they've installed are 20 watts less than what was originally there. So
Yeah.
hopefully you'll see a difference.
Originally, mean before the LEDs were put in?
Yeah.
Yes.
They were 70, they're now 50.
Okay. All right. I appreciate any assistance with this because it was truly because of the placement of the pole to my corner. Because the pole is actually on my property. If you look, it's on my property. So the distance between the pole and my house is 6 feet. And it was, they put a guard on it so that it wasn't hitting the other side of the street, but it was now, because it's a mirror guard, it's a metal guard, it's now stronger. The beam into my house was even stronger. So because of the guard. So I appreciate any assistance with it because it really was very, very difficult.
Well, thanks for keeping us updated on it.
Sure.
That's-
Thank you.
that's
Thanks for the
helpful.
feedback.
Yes, thank you.
And I'm glad to hear that Eversource has jumped right to it and made some very quick interventions. That's
I may have
very
had,
encouraging.
I may have threatened to go to the newspaper, but and get a lawyer. But I mean, I'm not sure. I didn't figure it. So I may have said something.
Good. Well, I'm glad we got some results there.
Thank you very much.
Anything else?
If I can, while we're on the subject of streetlights, I just want to, that's great. And I'm really glad to hear that that was addressed because we're, as the streetlight committee that's in progress, we really have no authority to mess with the streetlights yet. So we don't want to leave you astray until next spring, which is probably when we would be able to even do anything at this rate. But the streetlight committee did meet last Friday for the first time, so we finally got together and we're now on a regular meeting schedule. Our next meeting in town will be December 8th at 10 a.m. and that might possibly be by Zoom because we're trying to get Nadira from the Real Term Energy to possibly join us on that meeting. Otherwise, we may set up another meeting before that even. But we did vote, and I will be the chair of that committee. So if anybody has questions, I'd really love to have input from the community on anybody that's having trouble with lights or lights that you'd like to see added, lights that you'd like to see discontinued. Because this is a great time to just be in the planning process for seeing what people want to see happen, and so they're welcome to do that. In fact, I might put a little note in the next newsletter to have people just contact me if they have issues, and to try and keep it away from Terry so Terry doesn't get all these, because I know she's been getting a lot of it, but that's great. So I really appreciate it that you got.
Well,
they actually
thank
took
you.
service. That's good.
Thank you. And I'll, maybe if I could join that Zoom meeting as well. So
You're welcome to, yeah, anybody's
stay up
welcome.
to date on what's going on with it. Thank you.
That'd be great. Okay.
Anything else?
No, just say thanks, Jeff. I'm glad the streetlight committee is up and running. That's great news.
Yep.
So under correspondence, we're very pleased to announce that we received a small bridge grant program through the state for the repair of the bridge by the Shelburne Free Public Library that's on Center Road. There was concern that there is a sinkhole in the bridge and you could see the brook underneath it. So this was a 225,000. Terry, do you recall?
I don't have the dollar amount.
But no, it's a significant amount, and it's somewhere around 225,000, which will cover the engineering and repair of the bridge. So we're very excited about that. We
When
don't-
when you say there's a sinkhole in the bridge, does that mean like there's a hole in the road or something?
Yes,
Really? Wow. So is that road closed?
no, the state inspectors have been fine with the fact that we've been diverting traffic around it, and we have some patch in it so that, you know, you can't walk along and fall through the hole. So it's one of those cases, so it's been working well.
Okay.
All right, that said, is there any public comment at this time? Hearing none.
Yeah, hey, Bob, I'm sorry, I did have one.
Oh, go right ahead, John.
It's John Wallace. So it's been mentioned to me a couple of times that prior to COVID, the police department would actually do either walk around towns or bicycling around town just to show a present. And that seems to, a presence, not a present, and that seems to have disappeared. And I think some of the business owners would appreciate the fact that if every once in a while, especially maybe on busy weekends, instead of driving through town, that perhaps the officers take a couple of minutes and walk either on the Shelburne side or the Buckland side, just to let people know that there are people around. And I'm not sure why that was discontinued, but people seem to appreciate it a lot.
We'll definitely mention that to the chief, and I personally actually can tell you I have seen them walking the street Friday evening going out to dinner
Okay,
a month ago or so. I definitely
okay,
happened upon them, so I think they're still doing it, but I'll double check.
okay. Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to bring it up.
All right, no, thank you.
Yep, sure. Thank you.
Anything else? Before the motion to adjourn, I'd like to wish everyone a happy and safe Thanksgiving. It's going to be crazy on the roads, and please be careful driving. The statistics for the amount of impaired drivers around the holidays goes through the roof for how many times you encounter one that you may not know. So always be aware of that. So with that, happy Thanksgiving. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
A second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
There we go. We're adjourned. Be
Have a
safe
great one yourself, Bob,
Great.
And have a
Thank
good
you.
and everyone else.